The following is a presentation of TFNN.
Good afternoon, folks. Welcome. This is Steve Rhodes, your host for our every other week edition of Celestial Charting. And for those of you folks that are listening to the archive or listening to it live, you can go ahead and you can, this will be up on your members page sometime within the next couple hours after the presentation. So let's go ahead and get into it right away. We've got a bunch of things to cover, and at the end of the presentation, like normal, feel free to go ahead and type in some text messages to me, or if you need to, feel free to send me an email at steve@tfnn.com. And I'll be happy to get a response back to you, within 24 hours. I'm pretty much able to get back to folks relatively quickly. So we've got some market out there today. Right now, as we're doing this show, we've got the Dow's down 156. We've got the composite down 64. Small caps down 21. S&P down 22. Now, with regard to the Celestial Chart, and let's take a look at our next, because we have a number of new subscribers, quite a few new subscribers. So let me get this going here. So first order of business is that what we're dealing with here is a number of things. We've got the full moon the new moon that's going to be occurring on July 30th. That is this Saturday. And also with regard to our next webcast date, mark your calendar for August 10th. At 3 p.m., and the celestial event with regard to the moons that we'd be taking a look at, we'd be looking at a full moon that's going to be occurring on Saturday as well, August the 13th. So you've got all of these dates up here. Again, this is running every other week, and it's coinciding for the most part with each new moon or full moon cycle that we have. For those of you new members that are out there, this is a copy of a members page, and so you should see you should see a number of buttons like this with regard to mastering probability or celestial charting, and and that's just simply the layout there. As all of you folks have seen, we go ahead and we get the link live for this webcast early in the afternoon on the day of the webcast. But you're able to go ahead to Celestial Charting Archives and replay this one, replay the other ones, and so that you've got that information available to you. What we're going to do today is we're going to pick up and take a look at all of the different astro events that are occurring. I did send out a video email last night. Hopefully everyone is enjoying that service. It is a way for me to be able to, I think, help to better educate, better identify what different things that we're looking at, whether they're patterns, whether it's celestial type information. And folks, what it is for all of you that are just new to the celestial piece of what we're looking at, what I've got in front of me here is a page out of the New American Ephemeris, year 2007 to 2020. This is produced by a company called Starcrafts Publishing, and that's their phone number on there. I think it sells for like about $29. I recommend this highly. What we're primarily dealing with is the information in this part here. This is called the Daily Aspectarian. We're going to be spending most of our time today there, and this is what it is very blurry here. I know I've got something that's a little bit clearer when we get to it, but the bottom section of the ephemeris is where you're taking a look at on a day-by-day basis on ephemeris time what aspects are occurring in the between the different planets, angles of the planets, if you will. You've also got moon phase data that is up in here, and it's a good thing to. It's really a good thing to have, because it is important to understand what aspects are occurring from either today or tomorrow as we start to move into cycles, and that's what you're going to see today, and that's what many of you, I would believe, saw last evening. Now, if we go ahead and blow up that bottom part on the Daily Aspectarian, again, that's what it looks like right here. I realize it's a little blurry. The way that it's laid out is you've got the symbol of the planet, if you will, on the left-hand side, the actual aspect that is occurring, and then the aspect with regard to which planet. Folks, give us a second here. We got some type of technical difficulty. Want to make sure that we got the volume there, so I apologize for that. Just give me just a minute. Okay. Hey, sorry about that, folks. Sorry that if you couldn't hear, maybe I'll just real quickly run through what we are looking at here. All I'm going to do is really just back up one page. Just really quickly, this page here, folks, this is all of the webcast dates that we've got, which is on the left side, and then the actual lunar event, the actual date of the lunar event and when it occurs. And right now what we're dealing with here is a July 30th new moon, and today being July 27th. This is what the what your members page looks like. You can go review the last celestial charting archives that we've done. This is the third one. And the link goes live the day of in about the afternoon in order to be able to enter the webcast. This, folks, here is a copy of the New American Ephemeris. It's 2007 to 2020. Starcrafts Publishing is the company that produces it. I recommend that you have this. You want to be able to have this. It's an easy guide to be able to, especially as you start to learn the types of impacts that some of these aspects have on the markets that we trade. And what we're going to do today is we're going to primarily focus on the daily aspectarian part. And there, what we're going to look at is we're going to be taking a look at what major aspects are occurring, and they began last night, what major aspects are occurring between yesterday, well, really all week, through next week on August the 3rd. And I've laid some of those out on charts for us to take a look at, and we will utilize that as a guideline for any trades that we enter. This is the blown up section of the Daily Aspectarian. That is at the bottom of the Ephemeris. And what we're primarily focused on there is we're primarily focused on major aspects. And what we're dealing with there, we're dealing with angles. So you will see, for example, here, this is a page that shows with a Venus and Uranus sign. We went through this last week here, but what I want you to understand and get is that there are 5 primary mathematical geometry angles between planets, and those are the ones that we want to focus on. There are others out there, but they tend to be minor, have minor impact on any of the markets from a trading standpoint. And what we're going to focus on the ones that are 90 degrees or square, 180 degrees or in opposition, 120 degrees or trine. That's what we're going to focus on today. 60 degrees sextile, and 0 degrees or conjunction. And we will be going through all of these during our webcast. And again, I did say earlier, if you've got questions, you'll be able to type them in at the end, assuming that we've got some time. If I don't get to something, or you're listening to the archive version of this, just send me an email, steve@tfnn.com, and I absolutely will get back to you. If we take a look at what it is that is going on right now for this week's cycle, it really began last night. I sent out a video email to folks maybe about 9 o'clock or so, 8, 9 o'clock in the evening, and it was taking a look at the aspect of Ceres in retrograde. Retrograde, and I indicated what that was in the email. In negative emotion here, but that occurred last evening. We're also looking at this new moon that's going to occur on Saturday. We've got P index dates that are also occurring July 31st. We've got August 1st. One of the you've got Venus trine. Again, I mentioned that's 120 degrees. That's one of the aspects that we're going to take a look at today that I've got laid out on charts. We're going to look at other aspects that are occurring on August the 1st, and Mercury in retrograde, and so forth. So these are all the aspects. We have quite a number of aspects all occurring around this weekend. That's why we've got such volatility in the marketplace. I realize there's a lot going on in Washington, but these aspects, folks, these were written down many years ago, and so the aspects that are occurring had no idea that we were going to be dealing with debt ceiling debates or what have you. But the aspects, if you had taken a look at this, which we did weeks ago, month ago, we said this is going to be an important time frame. And certainly most of you have listened to the radio show, and I've indicated the 32-day cycle date and how that simply just coincides on August the 2nd. So, that was figured out a long time ago as well. So those are the aspects that we're looking at. If we were to take a look at the daily aspectarian and the ephemeris. And the next few pages here, this is showing all of the different aspects. So this is showing minor aspects, which have different angles, if you will, between the planets, as well as the major ones. So you can see here on July 25th, all of the different aspects that were occurring on July 26th, yesterday, all of the aspects that were occurring. And the only one that was of major consequence to us was with Ceres going retrograde. Now, to my knowledge, there's been no studies that have been published that are out there taking a look at Ceres. And so I went back, for the last 10 years. I shared that in the email that I sent out last night. And, what we're primarily taking a look at here is not so much the moon aspects to other planets, but really more so planet to planet, or planets that are going into a retrograde motion is an interesting thing to take a look at and understand if it's having an impact on the markets. And when we take a look at Ceres, it absolutely is. And we're going to go into that. If we continue on through the 28th, so if we take a look at tomorrow, all the aspects, and on Friday, all the aspects that are out there, the ones that I have highlighted here between Venus and Ceres, between Mercury and Neptune, these are important aspects to understand. This here that I've got outlined as these are P index dates. And what I've done with the daily aspectarian folks is I've broken it down into really 4 different areas. Larry Pesavento and a couple of others did some work many, many years ago. Larry's got a book out, a couple books out that deal with the subject. I have updated that, if you will. That's what I'm bringing to you, is the updated version with regard to how some of those aspects or newer aspects lay out over the charts that we're taking a look at. Now, all of the work that Larry had done was done based on ephemeris time. That's where I've got the times here, and it's like Greenwich Mean Time, and it's different than the Eastern Standard Time Zone. So I've also gone ahead, since I have this all digitally, and I've adjusted the time frames to see if there's any impact with regard to a number of aspects occurring in that 24-hour period. When Larry was doing his work here, folks, what he was taking a look at was just ephemeris time, and the ephemeris time did not include, and also with regard to the aspects, it didn't include planets like Ceres. And so the work that was done there is going to be a little bit different when you're taking a look at the ephemeris that we have now, because there are more planetary aspects that are out there. So the work, in essence, really had to be redone. Now, what I've done is I've filtered out so that I am looking at the same consistent information that on the studies that were done in the past. And so this here, this EP index is the O stands for old P index date. So because I'm taking a look at also new because I'm taking a look at the new ephemeris with more planetary aspects in there. So that's what these columns here are representing. If we take a look at continuing on through the second here, you can see that on July 31st we've got this the small index date, and small because there's just 3 aspects that are occurring during that time period, because again Ceres was left out of the original work. So I'm just trying to be consistent with what occurred there. And so we've got 2 of these small P-index dates occurring back-to-back. That's going to create some volatility in the marketplace, as well as, and now those are over the weekend, as well as you can see this here is dealing with the Eastern time zone. So this is a large index date, meaning that there's 14 or more aspects occurring on the same day. And again, what I'm talking about there is, if I quickly just go back to that daily aspectarian, in essence, what we used to do is we would just go to a date like this and count how many were occurring, because on averages it was about 8. And if you had less than 3 or more than 14, that was a date that you should be paying attention to. And then the studies that were done took a look at all the dates where there were less than 3 or more, or 14 or more, and what was noted was the impact. Typically, you could see a turn in the marketplace. Sometimes it was a minor turn, sometimes it was a major turn. If we continue on here, let's see here. This is so we've already talked about this. Let's go on to this page here. Here's August 3rd, where we also have Mercury going into retrograde motion and Mars trine Neptune. Now, we're not going to review that today. I did overlay that on the charts, and what I did not see there was a pattern that was worthwhile for us to spend time today reviewing that. It didn't seem to have as much of an impact. If we take a look at series, now this is some of the information that I had sent out last night. This is where I've got listed here the dates going back to 1998. I have dates going back further, but when we were taking a look at the S&P chart, and I was just trying to keep everything consistent with the S&P 500 chart because that's where the lunar strategy system is based on, what I wanted to do was just simply overlay the information, and the file that I had only went back to 1998. And so these are the dates here. What you might want to do for any of the other vehicles that you trade, you might want to go ahead and take a look at these dates, go back to any of your charts and your charting software, and see if there was a turn on or very near any of these dates. With regard to the S&P, we're going to see what happened. Now, what I then did was I took each of those dates, and I went and I took a look at, so again, going from 1998 all the way up until today, or yesterday, if you will, and took a look at the on that specific date, what occurred? Did it mark a low? Did it mark a high in the marketplace? And what was the direction of the market? So did we mark a low with the market pulling down into us? So just as we did on July on the last full moon date, we were buying as the market was pulling down into us. Now, as of today, we've all been stopped out of most of our positions, with the exception of the XLK, XLE, and XLU, although with the market I've seen it's just taken a little bit more here of a dive. It's possible we've been stopped out of there. Now, most of you should have been stopped out with some profits. And again, we were playing the lunar trading strategy, which was really working well for us and looked like the market would move up into the new moon, into either Friday or Monday, which is where we were looking for a turn. But folks, that is why we use stops in our trading, because it helps to protect our profits. It helps to protect the capital that we have. Now, back to this chart here, what's important is I've identified then what was the impact, and what I've laid out here is, was there a major impact, a minor impact, maybe a medium impact? And what I mean there, a major impact, is we go take a look at the October 10th, 1998 time period. What we'll see is we had the market pulling down into us, and it marked a low, and it was a major impact, and it was a reversal. And when I take a look at the days where what this 8 and this 80% is here, going back to 1998, so we've studied this for 13 years with regard to this specific aspect, and 80% of the time, there has been a market reversal. So yesterday, obviously, and I threw that out there, what I was looking for was maybe that the market was going to reverse and we were going to continue to move up into the full moon. It was going to release some information to us for sure. And what you can see here is the last two series going retrograde, that the high has been off by either 2 or 3 days. And we go back and we take a look at our current chart, we can see that there was a high in this pattern just a couple of days ago. So, when I complete this tonight or tomorrow, what have you, and fill this in, it looks like we were at a high and we were off by a couple of days. And you can see that we've got an 80% chance here that maybe this is telling us that we've got some major move underway. And folks, we will take advantage of that if, in fact, that's how things continue to play out. But let's go look at some of the charts. So I'm going to lay these dates out here on some of the charts that we have. So, again, going back, as you can see, to October of 1998, and near here means, when you're taking a look at my charts, near means that that October 10th was not a Monday through Friday. It was a Saturday or a Sunday. Now, what's interesting about this is, as you know, I have featured on a number of my emails or video emails the importance of the hammer candle. And so in this case here, we had a hammer candle come in close to October 10th. I don't recall what the exact date is right now because I've got this on my presentation software. And you can see how this had marked a low. And you can see that this was a major run because we were in the 930 area, and it made a high all the way up to the 14. There was no other series in retrograde motion in between this. There were certainly other aspects, but we can take a look at, when we take a look at series going retrograde, you can see that here, this was a major move in the marketplace. If we take a look at the next one that is out there, again, this now is and I may not have all these in order, but this is February 5th of 2000. The date that I have here, or the date, the little arrow that I've got here, that is the actual date. Now, it was near, so it's going to be somewhere in between there, if you will, but right there is what I think is likely the date. You can see, or there was the high that was made within 2 days of that date, 2 to 3 days, and you can see that we had a nice reversal pattern. Now, this one I would refer to as, I believe, as a medium turn, but it certainly acted as a turn date. If we continue on with the charts that I have here, let's take a look at this next chart. This next chart shows May 17th, 2001. Again, I've got the arrow, if you will, showing the actual date. We had 2 days off, and it went higher, a little bit higher, and made a high, and certainly marked, the high inside the marketplace. So, if you take a look at what it is that we've got in today's chart and what's going on, and I had never taken a look at Ceres. This was a new planet, if you will, that had been added to the ephemeris. And in fact, I wasn't aware of it. Larry wasn't aware of it as we were using our ephemeris and trying to come up with some of these p-index dates. And I just said, well, this is crazy. I want to go, get the create a digital version of this, if you will. And then just so that we wouldn't make mistakes, honest mistakes. So you can see here that on or around that time, and this is the third one here in a row, it has marked a significant high or turn in the marketplace. Now, if we take a look at this next one from August 13th of 2002, certainly it marked a low, but you had the market moving up to it, and I don't take a look at the chart and say, well, it moved down because it had a down move that day. One could, but certainly, what this is at least telling us, because of the power of Ceres going retrograde here, is that, when the low or the high was broken, it certainly gave us a real good direction of which way the market was going. So this is helpful. If we take a look at the next one, November 24th, 2003, look at the low here that this thing made. We had the S&P at about 1026 or so and moved all the way up to 1156. So I would say that this was showing a major, and that was also going into a hammer that was here. Again, something that we always look for. So, certainly, and when you take a look at today's activity, I promise you folks that Ceres going retrograde is making it to the top of my list of planetary aspects to pay attention to. If we take a look at March 21st of 2005, again, it didn't mark the exact low, but what it did was I draw the high of the candle from March 25th across. You see it came back and it got tested. Again, if you were using this as an indicator, as a swing point indicator, and the power behind Ceres, this is, you can see that then, we had a sharp sell-off. This one here looks like we got an A to B equals C to D, but, this one isn't as dramatic, and I want to go back and take a look at this date and see what else might be out there. But again, you can see the power of Ceres in retrograde motion. If you take a look at the next date that we had out here, June 21st, 2006, and you can see that the low that was made here came back, it got tested, just as in the last chart, right? This here, it came back, there we go. It came back and it got tested and then continued moving down. If we take a look at this chart right here from June 21st, it came in, came back, got tested, and look at the move. Look at the move that this made here, folks, with Ceres and retrograde motion. And I've marked out each and every one, obviously going back to 1998. I will go back further and apply it to the Dow chart that I have. As well, and see exactly, does it maintain that 80% turn date? Look at the move we had here from 1227 area all the way up to the 1558 area. This was, I think Ceres is making a point to us, may become one of our favorite planetary aspects to play, at least Ceres in retrograde motion. Look at this here. Again, it made a, is this, based on the last charts that I've just gone over, is this giving you quite a bit of information? Look how important this swing point was. Yes, it continued to go up, and it made a high here, came back and tested a few times, tested even up to here when it was in the 1500 area, and look at this as a swing point. So it's a different kind of a swing point when we're taking a look at astro aspects, at least with regard to Ceres and retrograde motion. Take a look at this one here, January 1st of 2009. Again, this was 3 days off of the high that was made here, and you can see we went from the 923 area all the way down to 663 in the marketplace. And so you can see the power, or it certainly looks to me to be the power of Ceres in retrograde motion. If we take a look at April 28th of 2010, and I'm not sure why I drew the line down at the bottom there, probably because it could have been right here. Again, 1 day, if you will, or 2 days from the high, okay? So 2 days from making the high, and we may have that pattern going on right now. 2 days from the high, and what does it do? It goes from the 1200 range, 1218 range, all the way down to 1,000. Folks, this is important stuff to understand and important indicators that nobody else has. Like I say, I don't think anybody else has done any work on Ceres in retrograde motion. So that's for the Ceres aspects. The other another aspect that I think when I overlaid it on the charts with regard to where we're at right now in these patterns beyond the new moon full moon cycle is Venus trine Ceres. Trine again, folks, being this 120 degree angle. So let's go take a look at those charts and see what they say. Actually, let me come back to this because this is a chart similar to what I put out for the Ceres in retrograde motion. Now, what I've got highlighted here in blue for you is, well, first let me say what I've done is I've gone back to 1998 for this as well, and 70% of this aspect of Venus trine Ceres have shown up to be reversals. And 6 of the 8, so 75% of the time, it turns out to be a major trend change. And so we have this aspect occurring right now as well. Or it's not today. Well, when is the next one? The next one that we've got in here is August the 1st. So remember, we're talking about August 1st, August 2nd. And so we may have a little bit of divergence here. But right now I'm presenting the information to you. I'm still going through it, and I will create a trading plan and lay that out to you in the upcoming days as we move closer towards the lunar cycle as well. Now, if we go to the charts and take a look at Venus trine Ceres here, what you can see is that in this case here now, and I think on some of these charts I still have also the Ceres and retrograde motion. So imagine the power here is that we have both Ceres and retrograde motion, and we have Venus trine Ceres. So we had the double power, if you will, a double whammy, and the type of impact that it had. Well, what is it that we've got going on now? We've got Venus trine Ceres on August the 1st, and we had Ceres in retrograde motion last night. Yes, there's a little bit of a lapse, but, certainly what seems like a back-to-back bang-up time here. If we take a look at the January 4th, you can see, again, that it acted as a strong swing point for the market, came back, tested it a few times, went ahead and moved sideways, created some energy, some cause, and then continued up on the move here. If we take a look at, so we're going to want to, certainly on our charts, we're going to want to mark Venus trine Ceres. We're going to want to mark when Ceres is in retrograde motion. If we take a look at the next one, you've got right here, Venus trine Ceres. Look how this is interesting in that when Ceres was in retrograde, where it moved down to was Venus trine Ceres. So how about that? And then take a look at the move that we had that powered up through that. A nice move here from the 1331 into the 1500 area. And then we have another move where Venus is trine, and it marked a low here on May 22nd, 2000, from 1367 up to 1464. If we take a look at, let's take a look at, again, so we've got the Ceres in retrograde up here. Then the next aspect that we've got with Venus trine Ceres, makes a move down here, moves up just a little bit, and what does it do? Just continues a big move down. And then where we come off of the lows here, within just a few days, we've got Venus trine Ceres, and it's made a nice move up here. Let's continue on. We've got, here's our next set of moves. This one here where you've got June 24, 2002, it's in the middle of the move. It certainly didn't create any kind of a market trend. reversal. It was simply just a continuation that we had here. If we take a look, and then we got the series retrograde. But if you take a look at this one, it acted as certainly, I guess you could say it acted as a continuation move. I don't know how to really read too much into this one. So this is one of those ones where I don't know that it necessarily worked for us. If we go take a look at this one, though, you can see where this aspect occurred within really 1, 2, 3 days of this aspect. We were at the high, so it certainly marked a high, and then you had a nice move down. So you're in the 920 area all the way down to 787 in the market. If we take a look at the next Venus Trine series, I can get my screen up here. The next one would be this right here, and you can see, again, hey, there's our friendly hammer. Again, this hammer, folks, you're going to get really comfortable, really familiar with it because it is a great candle to understand. And again, hammer, folks, because what it was doing was hammering out a bottom. What you're looking at is these are going to occur at the bottom of a trend move, and it shows that the bulls were in power. Even though it made a low, the bulls during the day were able to push it all the way back up here. Right now, the Dow, or the diamonds, have a hammer pattern. That's what is being tested today. There's a midpoint that I put out in one of the newsletters within the last week or so, showing that hammer from July the 18th, and I know that the midpoint was tested as we were coming on to the show. I imagine it got down a little bit further, and so it will be interesting to see. We do have some divergence here, I think, in the marketplace with regard to what takes priority, the hammer or series in retrograde motion or Venus Trine series. In any event, folks, what we can see here is that we had the power of Venus Trine series, made this move up, came back down to the date of series in retrograde motion. Looks to me like series retrograde motion has got the strength in its move, as we've seen today. Here you've got, we got the double whammy, if you will, Venus Trine series and series going retrograde, much like what we have occurring. This was the 18th to the 21st. We're going from the 26th through August 1st, so a similar type period. And, as you can see here, what these have proven to be is they've proven to be swing points, not swing points in the way that we've been taught. A swing point here would really be this candle up here. A swing point would be this candle down here. But what we now have is some additional indicators that we need laid out on our charts, because we can see how they are showing signs of resistance and support. And this is an indicator, folks, that isn't in anybody else's trading toolbox. So imagine how valuable it now will be in your toolbox. You're going to want to know every Venus Trine series that is out there. Here, and here's, just happens to be a, test of another hammer. We had right here, we had Venus Trine series. You can see it came down. I think that this was just moving sideways. I apologize. I don't know why I don't have it further over to the left, but I do believe if you go back to the June 2005 time frame that it was moving sideways. So we did have a low. It moved up for 8 days or so, moved back down, tested it, and once that hammer candle, wouldn't you have liked to have known, based on what you've seen so far, that on this date here was a Venus Trine series aspect, and then that you had a hammer candle that formed on this day here in July? Because, would that have, with that knowledge, would you then have gone long, just laying it out like this? And look what happened. You've got the S&P going from the 1184 up to the 1245. I think there's a few dollars that we could make off of understanding these planetary aspects. I'm just sorry that it took me till last night to start going through it and trying to get my head wrapped around series in retrograde motion. But here you can see we've got Venus Trine series, and you can see that, in fact, it marked a low. Another low, you move down into it, much like you would like to see, and easy to take a trade, because if we use our money management, trade, it becomes a good risk to reward trade. In this case here, we went from the 1228, 1230 series all the way up to 1303. If we take a look at the next slide that we've got here, what you can see is again, where you had a series in retrograde motion, and then what happens? You come all the way over here, and where the market had pulled back down into it and then took off from there, we had Venus trine Ceres. This one here clearly marked just a midpoint for us, but probably, if I went over even further, probably is a really important candle to understand. So there are probably a few more of these charts. Let's see. I want to just make sure that I manage the time here well. And so I'll just flip through these charts here relatively quickly, because you can go and you can pause your player when you go back and you retake a look at the webcast that we have here. Again, this is one where we had Ceres moving up, and we may have played this as a short. And as soon as the highs were broken, our money management certainly would have been taken out of the trade. I don't know that it would have worked for us this time. However, we go up to that was Ceres in retrograde. I apologize. If we go up to Venus trine Ceres, look at this. We had the market move up. It made a high. It got tested. Certainly, this would have been well within our stop range. The way that we place our stops, and look at the nice move that we had from 1550 down into the 1390 range. Let's go take a look at the next one that is up here, just to bring it more current, February of 2008. Here's what that looks like. Let's go ahead and take a look at 2008 again with the move that we have here. Let's take a look at Venus trine Ceres here from June 2009. Again, look at the importance of the power of this as a swing point. Different than what we had used before. So that's why I say, having ephemeris is a wonderful tool. Understanding and being able to lay these things out over your charts to see if they do have any impact or not is very important. Let's take a look at this chart right here, April 2nd, just a continuation move, but again, acting as a powerful swing point. Look at what happened, with the market once it busted through there. Obviously, big, huge down move back in the 2009 time frame. Wouldn't we all have liked to have had this and known this back then? Here we've got Venus trine Ceres back into April 2nd, and then how about the July 5th, 2000 time frame? Look at how that picked out the low, almost to the day. So that is with regard to our aspects of Venus trine Ceres. Now, again, here is the daily aspectarian, and I'm going to switch over to P-index dates because, as you saw in the beginning of the program, we had a number of P-index dates that are occurring, small and large. And when I mean small and large, it's just simply if you had an aspectarian and you were to count the number of aspects that were laid out here, if you typically had 3 or less or 14 or more, that would tell you that that's a day that you need to pay attention to. Well, the one that I wanted to focus on today, folks, was the ephemeris time with the P-index date with 16 aspects or more, because that is what is occurring on August the 1st that I think is probably the most important aspect for us to take a look at. And again, what I've done here, I've laid this out. I've gone back, in essence, to 2007, and I've identified, did it mark a low? Did it mark a high? Here I kind of have, it's high-ish. I don't know whether, I misspelled there. Apologize for that. Is it low-ish? And we'll take a look at that as I flip through the charts. What was the market direction? Was the market direction moving lower? Was the market direction moving higher? And what was the impact? Was it a minor, a major impact? And in this case here, it's kind of like a 50-50. So it's important for us to realize that it's out there. But when I take a look at the Ceres in retrograde and I take a look at the Venus trine Ceres, to me that has got more of a priority that we'll use as swing points out there that we'll keep to ourselves, or that you may share with some friends. But we'll keep. You won't hear me talking about this on the radio program. This is stuff that we'll keep to ourselves. Now, keep those dates marked in anything that we trade, especially as we come up into those areas, and looking at those as places for us to be able to put on a trade. So here again are the here are the P-index dates that we've got on ephemeris time, during the ephemeris time zone. So I've got these laid out here. So if we take a look at, these are important to understand. Just look at the last one here. Just take a look at the July 5th, 2011 that we had 16 aspects, and you can see that this was within just a couple of days of calling the top in the marketplace. July 5th, I believe, was when we went short July 1st here, July 5th. Then that was a Friday. then we had July 5th, and obviously within one day we had the move up, and then it moved back down. Now, in this case here, even with the stops that we had in place on our SDS trade, we weren't stopped out. We still stayed in the trade. We did exit now after the fact, was a little bit early, but we did exit that trade. And if we go take a look at this P-index date here, you've got February 21st. You can see how this marked a high. You can see you've got down here on January 23rd that we've got a low that was built in here. So understanding these P-index dates, or at least certainly ones where you've got 16 aspects right now, just taking a look at the last three, that tells me, we need to be paying attention to that. So what we're really looking for is either high or low in the marketplace, to occur, and certainly that's what seems to be setting up we have today, and it would be nice to have congruency between all these aspects coming together, because what that will be is such a huge release of information to us. If the market does turn or it doesn't turn, we will benefit from that, because we'll know about the importance of these aspects and how they apply as swing points and how they apply as turns. Take a look at the next three going in reverse order. Now this here, obviously it made a, it became a low, but it didn't move down into a low. So I don't know how you necessarily interpret this, other than you can, use this as a, as a swing area. Here we've got this P-index date. It only marked a low, if you will, for just really 3 days. This one here from June 10th of 2010, you can see this lasted for about 8 days. And that seemed to, and then let's take a look at the next chart. Let me move that down here. Let's take a look at this set of 3 P-index days. So you can see that, the first 3 were really beautiful, really nice. The next 3 were so. So it's getting back to that 47% that I had identified in going back and taking a look at what occurred. But you've got to be aware of this, because just take a look at November 2nd, 2009, right on target. You had the market moving down. So you've got to be aware of this. Absolutely. Let's take a look at the last set of 3 that I've got out here. Last set of 3 going back to 2007. We can see that here, going into December of 2007, you did have the market pulling up into it. It wasn't exactly, it was a few days off, and then you had, obviously, a move down. The November 21st, within a day or two, marked a low, that marking a high. And then in this case here, if you knew this, you knew it, you had marked it on your system so that you would pay attention to it, so that you could see, in this case here, we had a market that came, and this happened to actually, well, I'm sorry, it's right in this time frame here is where July 26 ended up being. And so if we had just simply marked that as a swing point, both at the high and the low, and you had the continued direction, once that thing busted through there, obviously, that gave us a bunch of information. So that is, and hopefully I didn't power through that too quickly for everybody, but I wanted to make sure that I got everything in on both the P-index dates, on the Venus Trine series, and series in retrograde motion. And are there any questions out there? There may be a few questions. And again, you feel free. You can always email me at steve@tfnn.com, and happy to respond that way. But I'll open it up right now. And if there aren't any questions, what I can also do is I can just simply pull open the charts here just for a few moments, and we can take a look at what's going on in the marketplace today. We can go take a look at the diamonds, which I'd mentioned, had that hammer out there. We can see, how has the market responded? Where are we at today? So if there are some questions, let me try to move over here, see if there's anything that's being typed in. Give me a second here while I find my mouse. Okay, I see. Okay, great. I see Ford getting crushed. I don't know, did that hit our entry price yet? Let's see here. So I've got some information. It's good. Volume okay. Sounds good now. Better. Dow testing 12. Excellent work. Okay. What do you see happening? I'm going to wait. I don't know what's going to happen August 2nd because I need to see how these next couple of days here play out. So, what I will do, though, is you absolutely, will get a full report. As most of you know, is that is that I do quite a bit of work on the weekend. You typically get 1 or 2 reports from me, and so that's not going to change this weekend. And also, I'm doing 5 hours now a week with Tom plus my 2 shows. And as you saw today, even while intraday, even if I'm doing the show, I may rifle off a trade to you as I see it. So it's great. It's better focused for you, for me to be, spending more of my time in this area. Quite frankly. And so with regard to August 2nd, I'm going back, and now, I had not been aware of the series in retrograde motion. Not until, last night I started really putting together the webcast for today. Wanted to take a look at each of the aspects. There are some other ones that I looked at, and I just simply discarded them because they didn't have the same type of consistency with regard to showing a market trend change. And when I went through the series one last night, I was like, oh my goodness, how about that? And so I need to go back, understand that, study it, because, this is really coming fresh to you. I'd never used it. I don't think anybody else has used it, but, I posed the question to you, will you use it from this point forward? And I'm pretty sure that the answer, I know I will. And I think that you should too as well. And so if we do, just quickly before Tom goes to his show and we take a look at the market, what I am looking at right now, as you can see, if we take a look at what the diamonds have done. The diamonds have come into the swing point here on July 18th, folks. That swing point had 6.1 million shares. You can see the midpoint that we had marked was 123.17. We're trading below that. We came into that with 6.6 million shares. So we're coming into that with more volume. Ideally, the low on that is 122.72. What did we get to so far? We got to 122.69. So we've tested that. There may be a counter trend trade here that will set up, but that's a test, because you came in it with volume, it's not a rejection. Even if it closed above it, it's not a rejection that we would have liked on volume. If we take a look at what the Qs are doing, the Qs are testing the July 14th time frame, not even close to the volume we had there. There was 98 million shares. The low on that's 56.87. It's coming in with 70 million shares, but you need to see it close above the 58.18 in order to have a rejection. If you take a look at what the SPYs are doing, the SPYs, it's the SPYs had volume on July 18th of 196 million, and we've got 213 million. So you're coming into that with volume, much like we did up at the top. If we take a look at last Thursday where we were at, folks, we had going into that island reversal, we had 248 million shares, that was going into the high that was made out there with 169 million shares. So, and with regard to other patterns, if you take a look at the small caps, you can see on the small caps, what I do have laid out here is I have a Gartley pattern, a 0.786 Gartley. You can see that you have crossed the B point here with volume. Typically, when you cross the B point with volume, though, you're going to do more than a 1-to-1 ABC. The 1-to-1 is at this 79.32 where it would be a Gartley. So that would mean that this Gartley here is likely going to fail, and that would move into a butterfly pattern. So, what I will do, folks, is you have my entire commitment to bring to you information that is not out there, analyzing this information to figure out how we can best utilize it, to lay it all out there for you. Folks, 2 heads are better than 1, and we've got a lot of heads. We've got a lot of subscribers. I really, appreciate all the support, and maybe, you might see something that I might overlook, or maybe you want to, throw something out there that, that might be your interpretation. Folks, this is a team. This is a family. At least that's the way that I look at it. And I'm here to do everything I can to protect my family members. I will promise you, I am the guy that you want in the bunker next to you. Because I'm a scrappy guy, if you will. But I'm here for you. This is not about me. This is about you. This is about us, and this is about finding ways to make money and certainly protect our money. That's part of the money management system. It's absolutely part of every trade that we will do. And over time, folks, we will make a bunch of money here. So hopefully you have enjoyed all this. Go back and listen to it. This is important information, and we will find a way to absolutely benefit from these aspects and others that we'll take a look at 2 weeks from now. So thanks so much. Stay tuned. Tom will be on in about 10 minutes. and tune into the show that Tom and I do, or catch the archive of it. We do that on Monday through Friday from 10 to 11. Tomorrow, my shows now has been changed from 11 to 12, just to give me the time to focus and do 2 shows in a row as opposed to having that broken up by an hour. And I really appreciate Basil's willingness to help to make that happen. So, so that's wonderful. So thanks so much for being here, and have a great day, folks.